You're going to be really natural right now. That's what you're going to do?
This is supernatural.
Okay, go for it.
So I guess we should probably tell people who I am. I think everybody knows who you are. When they hear this British voice, I should probably explain a little bit about me.
Okay, that sounds good.
I am Mike Hurley, and I'm the co-founder of Relay FM. I am a podcaster full-time. I've been podcasting for like 5 years, and I've been full-time podcasting for maybe like 6 months or something like that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of where I came from and where you came from work-wise a little bit later on. But I just wanted people to know who I am as we start this. And, of course, I have the real pleasure of being joined on Cortex every week by Mr. CGP Grey.
Hello.
Hello, Grey.
I've only agreed to 10 episodes, though, so far.
Yes.
Let's make that very clear. You have successfully pestered me into doing this. You have been very convincing, but I have agreed to do 10 episodes of this podcast with you.
I basically force-fed Grey coffee and got him to agree to doing this with me.
Yes. You were very consistent over several lunches together of getting me to do this with you. So here we are.
Because, I mean, I am a big fan of your work, especially of Hello Internet. That is my favorite thing. I love you and Brady every week. But there's one thing that when I listen to Hello Internet that I would love to hear more of, and that's what I'm trying. That's what Cortex is going to be. Where initially I want to talk about with you the way that you work, because every now and then you drop a little interesting tidbit of information about the way that you work, and I am kind of fascinated to understand a little bit more about that and the decisions that you make.
Okay, you want to follow that up on here?
That's what this is going to be.
Okay.
So I've been keeping a big long list of things, of peculiar things. Like I would like to tease something every time I tell somebody about this show. I give them one piece of information as to why I think Cortex is going to be interesting. And it's because at a recent lunch that we had, I found out that Grey put sleep on his calendar.
You seem transfixed by this. This really struck you.
Everybody that I tell about this when I'm talking to people about why I think this show is going to be awesome is exactly this thing I tell them, and they all react the way that I reacted. They're like, I just can't believe it.
I don't understand it. It seems very logical to me, but
we will save this conversation. I want to table this conversation because we'll lose the entire show to this. We will put that to the side for now.
That will be on the calendar episode.
But this is the type of thing that that I hope we will come across on Cortex, and as we try and understand a little bit more about the inner workings of your robotic mind and the way that the gears turn.
We can see how this goes. Although I am aware that I seem to have developed a bit of a reputation for being some kind of productive robot. And one of the reasons why I have only agreed to 10 episodes is I don't really think that there's that much to talk about, because even though I have this reputation, I don't actually really like work very much. I don't like working, and I am constantly trying to think of ways to minimize work or to sort of maximize the output that I can get from the minimum amount of input. So I'm not a huge fan of work. So I'm not sure there's going to actually be a lot to talk about.
But you see, that's the thing for me. That is wherein the interesting stuff lies, because you are a person who is successful at what you do, and you have a good output of work, and the work that you put out is of high quality. And you seem to be quite efficient about the way that you do it, simply because you want to not do too much of it. So I think that there is something really interesting in there. You're not a workaholic, right?
No.
In that instance. But you have found interesting ways to get maximum output with minimum input.
Perhaps.
We'll find out.
It works for me anyway. Many people wish I made more videos, but this is the way I work.
That's actually a topic I have for later. So, like, you have agreed to 10, but I have like 20 topics, so we'll see. We'll see how we go on that one.
Don't push your luck, Mike.
I'm planning this into 2020, buddy. You can't get away from me now.
It was a big deal for me to put something weekly on my schedule. This is I carved out a lot of time for this. I don't know about this. Look, you're already trying to reserve decades ahead.
This is like a podcast Trojan horse.
Ah, okay.
That's how this works.
We'll see.
So everybody knows that listens to your stuff that you used to be a teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the kind of the primary part of your background, your working background?
Yes, before I started making videos on YouTube, being a teacher here in the UK was really my only job as a full-grown adult. I have no long list of interesting careers. I basically went to school, and then after university, I trained to be a teacher and became a teacher for a number of years, and then eventually left that to do YouTube, is the short version of that story. There are other things that happened in between there, but that's the gist of it.
Why did you want to be a teacher?
You're going to start out making me look bad. You know the answer to this. Okay, so I always have a hard time convincing people that this is actually my answer, but I became a teacher because of the time off. That was really the main thing that drew me to that career. And while that can come off as sounding very lazy, the reason that it attracted me is that I wanted to be able to have big chunks of time to be able to work on my own side projects. I'm always a person who's had side projects in my life. Even now that my side projects have become my main living, I still have other side projects. This is just a fundamental part of my personality. And really, when you leave university and you are surveying the potential jobs that are available, time off from those jobs is a very, very rare and very precious resource. You know, the standard in America for people I know who, friends of mine who are living there, is 2 weeks off a year. And I know. I don't think this is hyperbole when I say that that's barbaric for a modern Western society. It's extra barbaric when you consider that most Americans then have to take their 2 weeks off and spend most of that time with their families at Thanksgiving or Christmas, which are usually not times most people think of as very relaxed, very low-key times. So in America, the standard is 2 weeks, and here in the UK, it's usually about, I think 4 weeks is the legally required minimum. I don't know, you used to work like an office job. What would you get? 4 weeks, is that right?
I got, I think I started off with like 23 days, and over my 8 years got it up to 28.
Wow.
I know.
That's loyalty.
Uh-huh. I was a rewarded employee.
There you go. Yeah, they were able to not keep you on with those rewards. No. But yeah, so when I was looking at, what am I going to do with my adult working life, teaching has this unique aspect that there are very few jobs that can give you big chunks of time off. And so that really is one of the main reasons why I went into teaching. I mean, there are other contributing factors. There are reasons why that was easier for me than other things. Having a degree in physics also meant that I could pretty much guarantee that I could get a job at a good school instead of having to start my way at the bottom of the chain and like hopefully work my way into a good school over a number of years. I could just walk into a very nice private school as a totally brand new teacher. So those things helped and those things contributed to my decision, but it really was the time off, and I wanted to and did use those big chunks of time on my side projects, one of which obviously eventually paid off, which is the YouTube videos.
I find it interesting that you start off the conversation with it being like a thing that you are maybe a little bit embarrassed to say because people may judge you because you say you wanted time off, but it's not like you wanted that time off to sit on a beach. Like, I'm sure there was some of that, but you were looking at it primarily as a way to do other things, to be productive in other areas. I think that is a very smart decision. And this is exactly the type of thing, right, that for why I think it's interesting to talk to you about these things, because that was a very calculated decision that you made, in so much that you didn't want to. I assume you always wanted to work for yourself, right? I will make that assumption.
Yes, that's something I have been aware of ever since I can remember thinking my own thoughts, is that if I can become self-employed in some manner, that is something I would like to do. And I grew up seeing my father, he's self-employed, and seeing how he was in control of his own life in the way that you can only be if you're self-employed. So that was always a goal that I had.
So because of that, when it's difficult to just go from university to self-employment. Like, that is a hard thing to do, especially with the course that you took, like the route that you took, the degree that you got. I don't really know if you can just be like, right, I'm a physicist now. That's not a thing.
I don't think there are very many freelancing physicists.
No, I don't know what you do. You just go to, like, you put your ad in the Yellow Pages or something, like physicists for hire. I don't know if that happens. So you made a decision in that you looked for a job working for the man that gave you the most amount of time to build your side business to take you to be self-employed. That decision is what is the kind of thing that I find to be really interesting about the way that you plot things out.
And don't get me wrong, there were some summers that were spent basically on a beach.
But
and I did take time off on vacations as well.
Yeah.
But yes, I wanted the time off to do things on the side.
For me, like, I have been podcasting for 5 years. As I mentioned, I started Relay with my co-founder Stephen Hackett in August of 2014. Having been around, I've been like a bunch of different places doing podcasts over the years. But I had been working in finance. I was working in retail banking for like 6 years, and then I moved into the marketing department, and I was there for about 2 years. So I worked for the man from the age of 18. I didn't go to university. I took a gap year to get a job, which then ended up becoming 8 years.
The gap almost decade.
Yeah, so maybe one day I'll go to university. I'm still on that gap year, so who knows what will happen. But I over that time decided that I also hated working for people.
You didn't enjoy your marketing position in finance?
Not really. I don't like big corporations, Gray. That is not a thing that I enjoy. I don't like talking about pinging people or circling back to people. It's just not a thing that I'm too interested in. So let's start talking about your devices. So I kind of want to start at the base, right? So your computer devices, your computing things.
You want to talk hardware?
I want to talk hardware. This is where we're going to start. Okay.
Oh, but if you want to talk hardware and you want to talk computers, you're going to start a religious war here over particular computers and things. That's a good way to lose half the listeners straight away.
Especially with some of the questions I'm going to ask you in a minute.
Oh, great.
We're just going to cut out a massive swath of people just straight out the door after minute 12. So, what computer do you use?
I am talking to you right now on my computer, which is a 27-inch Retina iMac. What I would say is that this is the computer that I have been waiting a very long time for, because I bought this solely because of the Retina screen. I was just waiting for Apple to come out with a large Retina screen, and as soon as they did, it's like, yes, I will take that computer. And Apple says, you haven't heard how much it is. And I said, I don't care. Right? I've been waiting for this. just give it to me. And they're like, oh, sign this document in your own blood. And I, fine, sign whatever. I need a big Retina screen to work on. It's my main computer, although it may not be my main computing device, but I am very happy with it. And the Retina screen makes a huge difference to me. And that's where I do all my podcasting from and all the animating from.
Do you have any other Macs?
Well, see, this is what's going to make people angry. There's a lot of Apple gear in my house.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Apple gear.
Yeah. I mean, look, we just have to accept that. That is where this conversation's going. I apologize to everyone for taking Gray down this path.
In the room behind me, I have a little laptop that I sometimes use for doing work around the house, because a 27-inch iMac doesn't translate well to doing stuff on the couch if you need to do computer work. So I have a little, very old MacBook Air from years and years ago. And then I also have, nearby here, I have a co-working office space that I go to sometimes. And I have another laptop in there as like redundant gear. So I have basically an office computer in an actual office that I use as well.
And with your iMac, what keyboard and mouse do you use?
I use the clicky keyboard. Now, everyone from Hello Internet will know.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, that's the sound when Brady's talking. When my podcasting co-host is talking, very often you can hear me looking up stuff in the background when he's saying things. I'm trying to find facts to contradict him, or just watching YouTube videos or something.
I look forward to hearing that so much.
But yeah, so I bought this keyboard from a company called WASD, which makes old-fashioned mechanical keyboards, which I was very, very excited to find when someone, I think, mentioned it to me on Twitter or something. But yes, it is very heavy. It is very solid. It is not remotely portable. You could beat a man to death with it, and I absolutely love it. And it has been customized so that it uses the Dvorak keyboard layout, which is how I actually type all day. So that's my keyboard.
Again, the Dvorak thing, I have a whole show planned around that. Because that is like something I can't even nearly begin to understand, like using a different keyboard layout. But again, we will come to that at a later date. What mouse do you use? Do you use anything specific, or do you just go with an Apple mouse?
Okay, I have this strange setup. I don't actually have a mouse on my desk. What I have in front of me are two different pointing devices. The thing that I use mainly is that I have a Wacom pen tablet that I use 90% of the time for drawing stuff. And even if I'm not animating, if I'm just using the computer, just browsing the web or whatever, I still use the pen tablet.
Wow.
Almost all the time.
I had no idea.
Oh, I thought you used something similar. I guess not.
No, when I'm editing, I use a Magic Trackpad in one hand and then a mouse in the other. So I use the trackpad for like panning and zooming, and then the mouse for like precision editing of audio. But I had no idea that you had a pen tablet. I guess it kind of makes sense because you animate, but that's really interesting to me, and even more interesting that you use it to browse the web.
Yeah, I use it for everything. I don't really use mice very much at all. So I do really like this pen tablet that I have. So that is on the right-hand side of my keyboard. And then on the left-hand side of my keyboard, I have, like you do, I have a Magic Trackpad. And I think for the same reason that I find it very helpful when doing animations or doing podcasts sometimes, to have that space to do gestures or secondary pointing tasks. It's a little bit hard to explain how I use it, but I find it useful enough that I'm in the weird situation sometimes of having the pen in one hand and my hand on the Magic Trackpad, with one on each, and it looks very strange, but I find it can be quite useful sometimes. So that's kind of my desk setup right here.
Okay,
that's what I have.
So what phone do you have, and what phone do you own and use every day?
Well, Mike, I have an iPhone 6 Plus, which is entirely also because of your badgering. I originally got an iPhone 6, and on my other podcast, I complained quite mightily and for a very long time about how much I did not like the iPhone 6. And over our many lunches together, you eventually convinced me to try out the 6 Plus, which I have done. And now my main phone is the iPhone 6 Plus, and I'm a big fan of it. I like it a lot better than I ever liked the 6. And this is a strange time to talk about my gear because I'm finding I'm in a period of transition now. Like I'm aware that I'm using the phone very differently than I used my old phone before, and then that's affecting how I use. Like there are knock-on effects from using the phone more to other devices, and I also have the Apple Watch now, which is affecting a little bit how I work. So it feels like things are in a period of flux right now. But yes, the iPhone 6 Plus is my current phone.
And I guess the phone is eating into your iPad usage, right? You're an iPad user?
Yeah, I am a big iPad user, and I would go so far as to say that my iPad is my primary computing device. That most of my work for the videos is actually not animating or doing the audio. It's mostly script writing, just writing what I'm going to say and then rewriting it and rewriting it and rewriting it forever and ever. So it's a lot of typing, and for some reason I find the iPad is the best device for me to do that on, to do lots and lots of edits on. It's very comfortable to. I have like a little external keyboard that I use with it that I can take around London and work from various cafes and things. And in addition, if I'm doing research, like I also spend a lot of time reading and copying, pasting sentences and making notes on stuff, and I really like doing that on the iPad as well. So in terms of hours spent on a device, the iPad is almost certainly the big leader in that. It's where I have spent most of my time. But I am really aware that with the iPhone 6 Plus, much to my surprise, the iPhone is very much eating into my iPad time, which I would not have guessed. I would never have thought that would be the case, but it's definitely happening. So I'm sort of refiguring how I'm using some of my devices.
And do you have a full-sized iPad or a mini?
I have many iPads, Mike. I have many iPads. I almost don't want to say how many iPads I have.
What, like in-use iPads?
Oh, yeah, in-use iPads.
All right, no, you got to tell me how many.
I don't want to tell you how many I have.
Come on, tell me how many. Is it more than 5?
Well, if we're talking about it depends on what you mean by in-use. Okay, so here's the thing. Let's back up a minute. Let's tell my origin story with iPads. After the iPad came out, I remember being hugely disappointed because, like other people, I thought, oh, I didn't want a giant iPhone. I want OS X or OS 10. Sorry, I can never. I read it in my brain. OS 10.
Gray, so many people are going to be mad at you.
I know.
You think the people are going to be mad at you for saying you like Apple?
Yeah.
The people that like Apple are going to be more mad you said X than Android and Windows users will be upset at you.
As a slight side note here, I often find myself in situations where I end up with both groups mad at me on a particular topic. This is a common phenomenon in my life, that I'm always in like the middle of two groups, both of which are angry with me over something. So that's what I've just done here. So anyway, I was disappointed with the iPad. I wanted a desktop computing experience on a tablet, and I thought, oh, this stupid iPad, it's totally useless for me. I'm never going to have any interest in it. But my wife ended up getting one, and over time, I thought, that looks useful, this thing that she's doing over here. And I started stealing more and more of her iPad time away from her. And I eventually started experimenting with writing on it with an external keyboard, which I quite liked. And then my wife was getting annoyed that her iPad was always missing, that it was in my control. But when I eventually saw the iPad 3 with, once again, the Retina screen, as soon as I saw it, I thought, man, I have to have this. This thing is just great. That was the first real-sized Retina screen I'd ever seen. And it was a similar thing, like, how much, Apple? How much? Like, just, I need this right now. And so since then, because the iPad is my main computing device, it's the thing that I spend most of my time on, I have gotten each generation of the iPad since the 3. So it's the 3, the 4, the Air, and the Air 2, if I have that right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also did get a Mini, so that makes it technically there are 5 iPads in my house that are mine. But they all do have uses, I swear. They really do.
You use them all.
Okay, so I'm going to have to really run through this, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Backed yourself into a corner now, Gray.
Okay. So the iPad 3 is in retirement, is the way I like to think about it. The iPad 3 sits in my bedroom, and it can only do one thing because it's very old, and it has limited memory.
Like an old thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. My iPad 3's retirement is that it functions as a white noise machine for when I sleep, because
okay.
I have I never know how to say it, tinnitus in my ears. I can't sleep in a silent room, so I need something that makes noise.
So what is it, like a ringing noise you hear?
Yeah,
Right.
As long as I have been alive, I have always had a ringing sound in my ears. It seems very normal to me, but I kind of forget that other people don't have this as well.
Sure.
But it means that I can't sleep in a perfectly quiet room, which is one of the few times I really notice it, but it's there. So I have to have something making noise. So that's what my iPad 3 does.
What kind type of white noise do you play out of interest?
There is a website that I highly recommend for anybody else who has this called whitenoisemp3s.com. And as far as I can tell, it's run by just one woman who goes around and records various soundscapes. Now, over my whole life, I have listened to a lot of different kinds of white noise, but she does a very, very good job with the recordings. They're very long. She picks interesting soundscapes. And so if you have this problem, I highly recommend her website to go buy some of those MP3s. And the one that I sleep with most of the time is it's a recording from the interior of a passenger airplane. So it's that jet cabin sound is the one that I play most of the time. But I use a number of her MP3s for various other things sometimes. So sometimes when I'm just at home, if it is bothering me, I have like a thunderscape. I have a thunder sound of a storm that I'll play just like low and in the background, just so there's a little bit of noise, but it's not distracting. So I use a number of her MP3s.
So we've established what the iPad 3 does.
Oh, right. I forgot. That's what we were doing. Okay. So now I have to explain some other ones. Okay. So let me work backwards then. The iPad 4 lives in my office because I like to have redundant equipment in other places. So the iPad 4 lives with my MacBook.
In the co-working space.
Yes, in the co-working space. So the iPad Air and the iPad Air 2 fit into this crazy system that I know you are interested in, which I call my redundant bag system,
Yeah.
where I have two different backpacks that I use based on what I'm doing on a particular day. And again, I like to have everything just set and ready to go, so each of those iPads lives in like kind of permanently in a backpack, so that in the morning, depending on which day it is, I can grab one or the other and I'm just all set. Like they charge up overnight, and so they're just ready. And then the iPad mini is probably one of my least favorite, but it has ended up as a dedicated book reader. So I have it set up so that it's always using like the low light setting, and it's always set on dark, and it has a very dark background so that I can use that at nighttime for reading very easily. So those are what my iPads are being used for.
So I want to look at your iPhone first, and maybe your iPad as well. But I think probably is it fair to say maybe your iPhone is the most important of the two?
Ooh, that's a hard. If I had to pick between the two, if I could only have one, that's a difficult question. I'd have to sit down and think about that for a while. That's not immediately answerable.
Wow, that's surprising to me. I guess that shows a difference in the way that me and you work. Like, I don't even use an iPad. I have one, I just don't use it ever.
Right.
Because my iPhone is that's like the most important device that I own, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's closer. It's closer for me. My iPads do not live unloved on the floor somewhere in my house, as presumably yours does.
It's like somewhere. If I ever need it, I always have to search for it. It's never in a place that's immediately obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only thing I ever use it for is to watch video on.
Yeah, they're very good for browsing stuff. But what do you want? You want like a screenshot of my iPhone? Is that what you want?
You can give me one if you'd like one. That would be really lovely for the show notes.
You sound way too excited about that.
I really hope that people find this as interesting as I do, because I just am fascinated by it. And I think that whenever I talk about these sorts of things with people, it seems to get people seem to be excited about it. I am very excited about the way that people arrange their devices and like the decisions that they make. It's just fascinating to me to see like the icons that people pick, because I think I remember seeing a screenshot of your iPhone previously, and I was kind of a little bit fascinated by it. There were things on there that I just couldn't understand.
Okay, well, I will send you an unmodified.
Okay.
Here's how it looked right now as we were talking. I didn't know you were going to do this screenshot. I'll send it to you on iMessage.
Okay.
But yes, as you might imagine, I'm a very fussy person in some ways, and I have spent far more man hours than I care to admit trying to select a wallpaper that is acceptable and the way that I arrange the icons on my phone and on my iPad. I really don't want to know how much time has been spent on it, but it has been a lot, and I am in an acceptable place now with the way all the icons are. But it can always be improved.
Okay, so I'm looking at this, right? I'm looking at this image here, and people can find this image if they want to in a couple of different ways. So I should mention, we've mentioned show notes, right? The place that you can go for the show notes. They're on the web. They're at relay.fm/cortex/1. And they're also in, if you use like a modern app, a modern podcast app, you will tend to find the show notes in there, and some will even show this image like embedded, because I will embed it because I think that's interesting to see that right there, so you don't even have to click a link. It'll be right there for you to see. So I think we may spend the next 4 hours just talking about what I can see here.
Wow, this podcast is going to be so exciting.
I think it is. I really hope people enjoy it, Gray, because, I mean, this might just be for me now, but...
I think you're slightly crazy, Mike, but, you know...
Well, see, for you know, I think it's a nice balance. I'm crazy about the things you're crazy about.
Uh-huh. I guess that works for me.
Everything is on one screen.
This took a little while to set up, but I do not like multiple screens. For various reasons, I have to accept multiple screens on my iPad. But on my iPhone, especially with the 6 Plus, I was absolutely determined to fit everything onto a single screen. I don't want to have to swipe left or right for anything. I just want to open up the phone and it's all right there.
Okay.
So the way I arrange that is I have 4 folders across the top, and then there are 3 rows of 4 icons each. So it's a 4x4 grid in total, and everything that I use on my phone is there. There is no secondary page to go to.
So one of the things that interests me the most is the fact that you have 3 items in the dock of your iPhone.
Okay, I have discussed this with people. This seems so obvious to me. It looks visually so much more pleasing if you have 3 icons in your dock than if you have 4 icons in your dock. Look at that screenshot, Mike. You have to agree, right? Doesn't it look nicer?
Except for the folders.
There's nothing I can do about the folders, but I mean the 3 icons in the dock. Doesn't that look nicer?
I don't know if it looks nicer.
You're wrong. It does look nicer.
Okay. Silly me. The thing is, you're wasting a space. You have, that's prime real estate down there. There must be one of the apps in that grid of 12 that is good enough or used enough that it could take that 4th place.
Okay, but here's the thing, Mike. Since I only have 1 page, the dock is less important than it might be on other people's phones. So, while I agree that it is still prime real estate, it is very thumb reachable. For me, the importance is demoted. But those are definitely my 3 most important apps that I use most of the time that I have in my dock.
So it's the Notes app, Launch Center Pro, and OmniFocus.
Yes, those are the 3 that are in my dock. And having them visually offset from the grid above, I find makes them easier to kind of see and to go to. It highlights their importance, having only 3 and then having them centered like that. It's much, much better. But the other problem that I have, and this took a while to settle, is that because I have a very large number of iOS devices, I wanted to make sure that the dock would always be the same on all of those devices, because I set up my iPad slightly differently depending on the context of what they're being used for. But on every dock, on every device, it's those 3 icons in the same order: Notes, Launch Center Pro, and OmniFocus. So I always want that to be the same.
Something else that I find interesting, right, is the apps that you use. The apps that are out on that grid of 12, right, that they are the prime apps that sit in this group, right? They are outside of the folders. You have elevated these apps to the status of must be always available. Mm-hmm. So I wanna look at this and I want to ask you a few quick questions about some of the choices that you've made. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I find really interesting is you have Pages, Byword, Editorial, and Notes. They are all text entry apps. Mm-hmm. I assume then that you have different uses for each of these applications.
Okay, yeah. So on my phone screen here, the rows aren't arbitrarily chosen. They are arranged in a particular way.
Oh.
And the bottom row, within the closest reach of the thumb on the iPhone 6 Plus, is basically my writing stuff row. So the four icons on the bottom are, in order, messages, pages, byword, and editorial. Messages has to be in that spot because that's the easiest spot to hit with the thumb, and it's a very frequently used app. But then I have those three slots, and conveniently, I basically use three writing apps. And yes, you are right. They serve different purposes, from least important to most important. Pages is the least important of the three. I use that for shared documents with some people, primarily Brady. So we do our show notes actually using Pages, which is something you and I have talked in private about, but that you would not abide for this show. You were very insistent on using Google Docs.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Even though I hate Google Docs for a variety of reasons, but I relented.
I appreciated that. You can't even begin to understand how much I appreciate that.
But Pages works for Brady and I for doing the show notes. Because if you are a professional YouTuber, you end up with a million Google accounts, and it can be very frustrating to try and find the correct one for the show notes. So that's why Pages works for us. So we have some shared documents in there. And I also have a series of shared documents / instructions for my personal assistant, which are in Pages. So I can make changes in Pages, and then she can see it on her end about, how things need to be done in a particular order. So Pages is largely for sharing documents with those two people. And there's a few other things, but that's like 95% of the use case.
Okay.
Next over then is Byword. And Byword is where I contain an enormous number of lists and documents in text format. This can be anything from, I keep a list of movies to watch and books to read, or I'll have a document just on a whole bunch of notes for a potential project in the future, or half-finished scripts that I'm not working on at the moment. It's almost anything that doesn't have a dedicated place kind of lives in Byword. So there's just a ton of lists in there, and I like to have that immediately accessible because I can think of, there's here. I just thought of a place that I would like to go on holiday at some point. So I have a list of places to visit at some point. So I can just quickly open up Byword and add that onto the list. And then the one that is the furthest over is the most important to me, which is Editorial. And that is the app that I actually use to write the scripts for my videos. And I keep a very, very limited number of documents in there. I try very hard to keep it at 5 or under of videos that I can say in some sense are active, that I am currently working on and currently writing. So that is what Editorial is for.
The Notes app, right? You keep it in the dock.
Yes. The Notes is basically just like a pile of crap, is kind of the way to think of Notes. Notes is, some thought popped into my head and I just want to write it down. I don't even necessarily know what it is or where it's going to go. I just put it in Notes if something comes into my mind. And I have a regular review session that I do with myself where I will go through just everything that got dumped into Notes, and I'll sort it out later. But I very often find myself in situations where there's just something that I want to write down quickly, and I'm not even sure exactly what it is or where it's going to go, and I just throw it in Notes. And the reason I use Notes is because I want that to be available everywhere, and I often go through that stuff on my computer. So I want an application where I can have all of these little like scraps of paper, almost these virtual scraps of paper, but I can then churn through them on my computer one at a time, and then very quickly, oh yes, this goes on this list, this goes over here, this I can just delete. So it's this kind of scratchpad sort of application, but it's on the dock because it is very, very frequently used of just, I want to write this thing down really quick.
Right, okay.
The next row up is the audio row.
It's the audio row, yes. Music, Audible, Overcast, Spotify.
Right.
Audible and Overcast, I can see those uses, right? Audiobooks,
right.
Podcasts.
Right.
Music and Spotify. So I assume you have some stuff that you want on your device that's not on Spotify?
Yeah, my music system is kind of a mess because I have a bunch of music that I bought through iTunes a while back, And I don't know, a few months ago I thought, oh, all these kids these days, they're talking about this streaming music. Let me try that. So I signed up for Spotify, and I'm kind of waiting to see what Apple does with Beats. Like, can you just solve something for me here, Apple? I feel like I'm halfway between two music systems, and everything is just a mess everywhere. So I have some stuff that's in music where I've made particular playlists. Like I have playlists for when I'm writing or for exercise or other stuff. But then Spotify is a source where I can get new music, or it has this little radio feature. Each does things that I like, but my music system is just a total mess, which is why I have the two of them there. But I'm unhappy with the current state of music, and ideally I would like to compress those two icons down to one icon in the future. But, this is where we are at the moment.
So then I'm going to guess like Clear is for lists, right?
So Clear is a very recent newcomer on this front page here.
Ooh, a promotion.
It's a big deal when you decide,
it is.
I'm going to have a new one that's on the homepage. I can't remember. Someone got demoted. I don't remember who it was.
Uh-oh.
And I can't. They're so unimportant. They've slipped out of my mind. But yeah, Clear is a new one, and I'm experimenting with what I'm calling the top two, where I'm trying to figure out what are the two most important things that I do on a particular day. Like what are the two best things that I can accomplish today? And I'm keeping them in Clear. That's all Clear is a list of two items. And the reason it's there on my phone is mainly because of actually on my computer setup, since I use OmniFocus to run all of my life. Like everything is in OmniFocus. On my actual desktop computer, I also always have now Clear open on the side, showing me the two things that I think are really what needs to be accomplished. And I'm finding that it's helpful to have that visually present all the time and separate from I'm running through this enormous checklist of stuff I need to do when I'm uploading a new video, or here are the bunch of minor errands that I need to run today kind of stuff, where like OmniFocus is on top of all of that, but I like having it visually separate and omnipresent, these two items that I'm selecting as particularly important items for the day. So that's why Clear is there. I don't use it a lot on the phone, but I like to be able to change or tick off those items immediately.
Are these two items things that you would like to do or things that you have to do?
This can be a whole other conversation. I would say that they are important items, but they are very rarely things that have to happen.
Okay.
But this can be another conversation.
So, I mean, the other one, do. I always struggle to say it.
Do.
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 Every time I talk about this app, I have to spell it. Because I just know that I say it ridiculously. It's like it's just a totally different word. I do you use this for like reminders and alarms and things?
Okay, so the crazy thing when you look at this screenshot is, wait a minute, this guy has 3 icons on his home screen that have checkboxes on them. Right, Clear, OmniFocus, and Do. And it's like, it seems like it's a lot of items, but I don't actually use Do for their reminders at all. I use Do solely because they have the best timer feature of any app I have tried.
Yeah, 100%. It's amazing.
Yeah. When I'm trying to find a new app, you can look through my purchase history, and it's like, oh, this guy bought 20 timer apps on the iTunes store, and he tried every single one of them. But Do is the only one that does this thing, which, and now especially with the Apple Watch, is just amazing, because I use timers constantly for when I work. And the thing that I really like about Do is when the timer goes off, you can have it automatically re-notify you in a minute and keep re-notifying you every minute until you tell it to stop.
I love that feature so much.
It's almost hard to explain why that's useful, but there are very many occasions where I don't want a timer to constantly ring until I tell it to stop. I want it to poke me every minute, meaning that you need to wrap it up, buddy, but keep reminding me until I tell it, yes, I have finished this thing that I'm doing.
Yep.
It is like life-changing, this timer. And the way it works with the Apple Watch with sort of tapping you on the wrist is absolutely phenomenal. I have to say, I use, at least right now, I use basically no third-party apps on my watch except Do, and I use Do all day long.
Yep. The actual Apple Watch app is brilliant because you can enter things there, you can reschedule things as well. Do is probably my favorite Apple Watch app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely great. It's absolutely great.
So, unexpectedly, I have now kind of just like pushed you through this tour of your iOS device.
Right.
And pointed out things that I find interesting and somewhat weird. Would you like the opportunity to do the same to mine?
Well, are you going to give me an honest screenshot?
Yeah, I'll go get my phone right now, and I'll iMessage you a screenshot.
Yeah, so let's see for comparison. What have you got there?
Give me 1 second.
Mike, this iPhone is hideous.
Okay, awesome. Right, let's do this. What's the problem?
The screenshot is horrifying.
Why? What's wrong with this?
Okay, I almost said this when I was talking about my iPhone, but now I have to say it to you. I don't understand people who fill up every slot with icons. And you're one of those people.
Yeah.
And you have an iPhone 6 Plus, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows, including the dock. 7 rows completely full with 4 icons on each row.
My problem is there's like maybe 3 apps that I don't want to be there, but I can't make it uneven. And plus, I just like to fill the screen. You got the screen, fill the screen.
Oh my God.
That's how I feel.
Okay, look, if there's 3 that you don't want to be here, at least demote one app and leave that row on the bottom clear. Having at least one row clear is very nice. It's very pleasing.
I used to do that. I don't know. Maybe this will force me to do it. I need to think more carefully.
I mean, the phone. Why the heck is the phone icon on your home screen?
I actually don't know why it's there.
Okay, there we go. I've solved your problem for you. Get rid of the phone icon. Get rid of whatever those other 3 are. And, I mean, when I look at this to me is just... I can't believe I've never seen this in person. I think you must have been hiding this from me in person when you...
Would you have, like, grabbed it and thrown it at the wall or something?
Yeah. Like, you need to fix this right now, buddy. This is horrifying visual noise. And I have to say, your wallpaper isn't helping. Are you going to put this in the show notes for people?
Yeah, that's one of the built-in ones. Apple give you that.
Is that one built in?
Uh-huh.
No, that's not built in.
I promise you it is. That is an Apple-designed wallpaper. I'm telling you, it is.
I mean, they do. Occasionally, they make horrifying decisions. There's no way. I mean, it is just triangles of color.
Uh-huh. There's a blue tinted one and a red tinted one. I have the red tinted one because I have a red iPhone case. Open your settings app. Go to wallpaper.
It's open right now. I'm scrolling through. Oh dear God, you're right.
See, I told you.
I can't believe that's one of the built-in ones.
It's great.
No, it is not great.
It is great.
It is not great. Listeners, go look at the show notes and ask yourself, which phone would you rather use? You know what the answer is going to be.
I have more personality than yours, Gray. It's all like, it's like a robot in there. I've got like a clown going on or something.
This looks like someone just puked a bunch of neon and squares all over the place.
I do feel like that. Having now looked at yours and now looking at mine, I'm looking at it like on my screen because I'm looking at it on my laptop here and it's bigger than usual. And it's like, oh my God, it looks like a clown vomited. Like it doesn't help because I have a lot of color on the icons as well.
Yeah. I mean, well, this is... I didn't even want to get into my crazy obsession with this, but part of the problem with me arranging the icons is you have to distribute colors appropriately, and the various icons that I have are way too white and orange heavy, and it took forever to try to figure out how to arrange them. But yeah, you have a lot of color icons here, but you have the camera icon on your home screen, but you can just get that from Control Center. You don't need that icon there. Get rid of that.
That doesn't work properly. But also, the camera serves 2 purposes. It's also the way I get to my photos. So that is a life hack.
Do you have 3 pages of this? Because I'm looking. You have 3 dots on the bottom.
Yeah. Do you want to see the other pages?
I don't know if I can handle the other pages.
It's lots of stuff and lots of folders. This is the thing. Like, if I have to move things off this homepage, I don't know where they're gonna go. That's the problem. That's one of the main reasons that it stays as it is, because I don't know where to put stuff.
Okay, send me the other ones.
This show was meant to be looking at the interesting ways that you work, and now it has actually turned into what I expected, which was you ridiculing the way that I work.
I mean, I have to say, when I'm looking at this on my phone because I want to get the full experience.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
Because there I can tap it and then it takes up the whole screen. And so it is though I am using your phone. And now that I have all 3 pictures, I can swipe back and forth just like it's the 3 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I mean, I don't know any other way to describe this than just disgusting. This is just disgusting to me, Mike.
I assume right now that this is like attacking your senses.
I don't know. I don't know how you do anything on here. I don't know how you find anything on here.
I use the search quite a lot.
Everything just looks like crap. Okay, so this is what I was going to ask. I mean, please include these other. I don't know if you can, but if please include these other 2 screenshots so people can see the full horror. I mean, first of all, like your folders are just random all over the place. It makes no sense at all.
Well, to you,
I don't think it makes sense to you. I don't think it can possibly make sense to you. Now,
because one thing that I really don't like, I don't like having like apps on a second and third page of a folder. That frustrates me. I don't like that.
Okay. So
I wish that there was no preview of the icons, because then that's why. Because I can see the little icons in there. Like it makes if they're on the second page, I don't like that. I wish it was just no icon at all. I couldn't see anything that was in the folders. Then I could put more stuff in folders. I don't like them hidden away like that.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to just specify that there's 2 things that I want that Apple will never give me. I want opaque folders so it doesn't even show me what's in there, or maybe I can select a representative icon or something.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that I hate the most about my iPhone now, is seeing those junky folders at the top. Mm-hmm. But I'm willing to pay that visual price for having the one screen. The second thing that I want is I want the option to turn off the words underneath the icons. Why does it have to say Audible below the icon? I know what that icon is.
You know what's going to happen now, right?
What?
Android people.
Yeah, no, I know Android people will tell us. And this is, I know this is what happens. It can never mention, if I ever mention a setting, it's like, listen, Android people, I know that you have settings to change everything. I'm fully aware of that. See our previous 20-minute discussion about changing. But I want to be able to take away the words. I find the words are visual clutter that I have no need. The purpose of the icon is to be able to identify the app. I don't need to read it. I'm not looking at that screen going, I wonder what the pink music note is. Oh, it's music. Thank you, word below the picture. There's no need for this. I wish I could get rid of that. I would love it if I could get rid of those words, but I can't. So I want to visually simplify this even better. But okay, so just to step back for a second, because you mentioned that because you have no kind of system at all, you use search to try to find your stuff because there's just crap everywhere in random spots. Like, that's what you have to do. Now, I use search for everything basically that's not immediately visible. And what I'm wondering is I may have more apps on my phone than you do. So I want you to look it up on your phone right now. Do you know where to go?
I now need to go get. I'm just gonna get my phone.
What are you doing? Why are you leaving your phone all over the place?
It's charging.
Why don't you have a charger where you're sitting?
That's a thing that I need to do.
Yeah, it is a thing you need to do. Where's he going?
Plus, I didn't want it, so I was distracted.
Uh-huh.
I need to give you my full attention.
Yeah, you got to maintain focus.
So, yeah, I know where to go. So I'm going there now.
Yeah, so it's under Settings, General, About.
Okay.
I have 113 applications on my phone. How many do you have?
Aha, I have 194.
Okay, so
I don't even know why. I had no idea. The thing, when I got this phone, I started fresh. I don't know what's happened. I don't know how I've done this.
You have done this. You have done this to yourself.
You've ruined everything.
I have ruined nothing. You have ruined everything. I have just pointed to the ruin.
Because now I want my phone to look like yours.
I mean, you got to do something about that, Mike.
I know.
See, this is why. You know I'm right. You know the 3 icons on the bottom looks much nicer. You know the one page is nicer.
No, I will not have 3 icons on the bottom. I will always have 4.
I mean, I'm looking at this picture still, and it seems like there's no rhyme or reason to anything. There's no rhyme or reason to any of this.
Well, there is. So do you want me to talk you through it?
I mean, you can try.
So the dock consists of Tweetbot, Mailbox, Chrome, and Overcast. They are my most used, most beloved applications. So they live there. I use them constantly.
I don't even think you should have Twitter on your phone, but that's a whole other conversation.
I'm writing that down. Episode number 11. Okay.
Number 9.
Then I have messaging applications, Messages, WhatsApp, and Slack.
Right.
They are there. I use those. They're my messaging apps. I then have Beats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it sits above Overcast. So that's like the audio portion. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Then I have 1Password, Fantastic How, OmniFocus, and Workflow. That is the productivity section.
Mm-hmm.
It's where I get stuff done. I can't believe there wasn't a calendar on your home screen.
Nope.
That will be the calendaring episode. Then Launch Center Pro lives above Workflow.
I can't imagine a worse... Oh, wait, would you use your phone right-handed, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm looking at that and thinking that's a terrible place for Launch Center Pro. But if you're using it right-handed, then that's fine.
Yeah, that was actually picked as one of the prime places for me.
Yeah, that's an easy spot.
Then I have camera stuff. Camera, Instagram, Periscope.
Periscope on the homepage.
Yeah, that was a bad mistake. That needs to come off.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I don't know why I ever did
Terrible
that.
decision.
I was really excited about it one day, and then it got moved to my home screen. I don't know why. Then I have this next line makes no sense.
Yeah. Your RSS reader, Evernote, Dropbox, Google Maps. Oh yeah, those 4 go together. Obviously,
there's no thing there. Clear and Due, they go together because they're kind of reminder-y type things. How do you say it again?
Do.
Then I have Foursquare because this is all falling apart.
I mean, look at you. You're putting the two white colored apps next to each other. I mean, even unread above the camera, you have 2 grayscale apps right above each other, and then above 1Password. It's just, it's visually hard to parse. You've Editorial above Do, you have the older version of Editorial, so it's white. This is no good. I mean, in your dock, you have Mailbox and Chrome next to each other, which are visually similar. And then you have the phone at the top left, which you already admit that you don't use.
So the phone at the top left is there because I think it's always been there.
Right. So you never thought about it. You never went about it in any kind of rational way. You just left it there. Great. Okay. And then day 1, your journaling application.
Yep. So I need to seriously rethink this now.
Yeah, you do.
And I will never forgive you for that.
We need to have like a little sit down next time we meet up for lunch.
I want to. Now I've decided I want to make my phone look like your phone.
I think that would be good for you.
With 4 icons in the dock because I'm civilized.
3 icons in the dock because it looks much nicer.
Yeah, but I'll be missing one.
You don't need Tweetbot. You can take Tweetbot off there.
That's the one I need the most, buddy.
No. Goodbye, Tweetbot. Twitter isn't even installed on my phone. You shouldn't have Twitter on your phone.
But then how will I talk to anybody?
How will I Twitter?
If I don't have Twitter on my phone, how will I tweet?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
We will discuss it in episode 9.
How much do you even consider using your Mac in this way? Like, do you even think about like what goes on your dock and what goes on your menu bar as an important thing?
I have nothing in my dock.
Whoa. Okay, we need to go back to this again. Do you seriously have nothing in your dock?
To a first approximation, that is true. What are the 2? There are 2 applications that I do leave in my dock, but that is only because I always want them in the same location on the dock. But otherwise, I have no applications in my dock. The only 2 things that live there permanently are Activity Monitor, because I just want to be able to see it. I have it next to Finder. I want it in the same spot every time I bring up the dock. And I have a program called Anti-RSI, which is to remind me to stop using the computer at particular times. So those 2 are in my dock, but it is only because I want their icons in the same place all the time. Otherwise, no dock icons. My dock is minimized, and there are no icons.
Oh, please don't tell me it's on the bottom.
It is on the bottom, but It doesn't matter.
No.
Why does this bother you?
It takes up so much screen real estate.
But can I tell you something that's probably going to drive you crazy? I have a couple of computers, and actually the dock location is inconsistent between them. On a couple of them, it's on the side, and some of them it's on the bottom.
I don't understand how I can be criticized about my iPhone.
But here's the thing. Because I never use the dock to launch anything, and because it's always hidden, I don't even really ever pull it up. I never look at the dock. So where if it's hidden, it doesn't matter what's on there. I never use it. So it doesn't make any difference if it's on the side or if it's on the bottom. One of these days I'll make all the computers consistent, but I don't care because I never look at it.
Activity monitor, though, is that really that's crazy to me that's that important, that it's not only open all the time, but is pretty much the only app, right? Because the RSI thing is like a utility, it's like a thing.
Yeah.
But like it's the only app really that you ordain to live. I mean, you have a really powerful computer. Like, what's the issue that you're finding there?
The reason it's there is for when I'm exporting stuff. It is useful to see if programs have frozen or if they're busy. I mean, I don't use it a ton, but it just gives me a sense of like what's the system up to in situations where it might be ambiguous. So when I'm exporting animations, is the usual culprit of, did the system just freeze or is it busy for the next couple hours churning away at a 2-hour long Hello Internet video for YouTube? That's why I have it there, but I don't use it very much. It's just more that I want it consistent if it is open on all the systems, so I can quickly go look and see if there's a problem with something or something needs to be killed.
Do you care about what lives in your menu bar?
That I am very picky about, and definitely for the show notes for listeners, if you are picky about the icons that live on the top of your menu bar, I use Bartender.
Yes.
Yeah, which is excellent. It is an excellent little app that gives me a little box on the menu bar, which I can hide a million ugly little icons in. So there are very, very few icons that are actually visible all the time on my menu bar. There's the Bluetooth status. There's volume. I do have Time Machine, but that's only because I need to keep an eye on that. I've just switched over systems and I want to make sure it's working right. There is the input menu so that I can see that my computer is in Dvorak, because every once in a while it likes to switch over to a different keyboard, which is super fun.
I use the Microsoft ergonomic keyboard, which is a PC keyboard.
Right, yes, I know that one.
So I have to change mine to like PC British, or otherwise just nothing works. Just all of, basically it might as well, I may as well be using a Dvorak keyboard at that point, because it's just like it just don't recognize any key input.
So I have the Dvorak keyboard thing, I have the Wi-Fi indicator, and then the one that drives some people crazy when they see my computer is that I have what's called a fuzzy clock.
I used to use one of these.
The fuzzy, like on my clock right now, it doesn't display the time as a number, it displays it as a little sentence. So it says 4:15. Like the words are written out on my computer right now. I can actually take a little screenshot for people.
It's actually 16:17 right now.
Yeah, but who cares? I don't care. I don't need to know the time that precisely. And I really like having the fuzzy clock. I don't like having the little number. And for some reason, I just find it's much easier, and I don't live a life that I need to know to the minute what time it is. It doesn't matter to me. So I like the ambiguity, and it's just somehow clearer in my mind, the notion of, it is 5:00. Is it 5:03? Maybe. I don't care.
Yeah, I get that. I do actually get that. I like that. Because as well, like if you use an analog watch face, that's how you tell the time.
Yeah, it's very similar to the analog watch face thing.
You don't look at an analog clock and be like, oh, let me just hang on a minute. I just need to where exactly 1, 2, 3. Nobody does that,
There, I sent you the thing for your show notes. You can use that.
We massively diverged from the overall point of what I was driving at today.
Is this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted this conversation to be?
Yes.
I feel like it got away from you, though.
It wasn't what I planned, but looking back on it, this is exactly what I wanted. Like,
okay.
When I wanted us to do this show, that last 20 minutes was exactly what I hoped would happen, right? Basically, I don't understand you, and you're really disappointed in me. That this is how I expect the next few episodes to go.
I'm glad that's what you wanted, and I'm glad that's what you got, Mike.
Because I guarantee I'm very disappointed in you. But like, I wanted to set out with you to start looking at the devices that you use and the choices that you make and the way that you arrange them, to ask the simple question of, do you think that any of this actually makes you work better? The hardware decisions, the way that you organize things, the choices that you make, do you think that they actually make you work faster, harder, or smarter? Or do you think it's just a thing that we do or that you do to just make you feel more comfortable to do the work? Like the actual choices that you make, intrinsically the choice doesn't help you do the work. It's just you feel more comfortable to get the work done.
All we have in life are the choices we make. I've made a whole bunch of choices with regards to the hardware and the software that I use. And then I observe the changes in my own behavior as a result of those. And a lot of it is just making a decision so that a piece of technology becomes almost invisible. Like, I don't really think about my Mac very much. It's almost semi-invisible in my life in a way. It's just a machine that I sit down at, and I have my desk and my chair, and I sit here and I do work on it. And that's what I want from it. But I'm always messing around and tinkering with my system to try to see how can things potentially be better. And I mentioned earlier, the thing with Clear is something that I'm trying now to have 2 items always visible. Does this make a difference? I think it does, but I haven't been doing it long enough to be able to tell. So some decisions, yes, they do. They help the workflow. I don't necessarily... It's hard to say if I'm faster with particular decisions. Like if I had learned a different audio program, would I be faster with that than Logic? Probably not. It probably wouldn't make much of a difference. I just had to pick some audio program, so I might as well continue with my doubling down on Apple. So I went with Logic. But things like selecting timer applications or task manager applications, those things I can observe they do make a difference. Like having a better timer application matters. Having a better to-do list manager matters. It makes a difference. But then there's stuff just like arranging all of the icons on my phone and picking a pleasing background is just because I don't want to live a life where a clown has vomited on my phone and I have to deal with that every day. Like I would like a nice, calming, relaxing, easily visually parsable environment in which to work, unlike some people.
We have a couple of mechanisms to receive follow-up and feedback for Cortex. Now, you can email us, but we will probably get to this at some point. We would both really prefer it if you didn't email. You can. Okay, if you go to our page online, if you go to relay.fm/Cortex, you will be able to click a button that says contact, and it will open your email application, and you can write an email, and it will go to me. It will not go to Gray.
I was going to say, and you can email Mike.
100% it will never go to him. It will just go to me. So, treat that as you may. But both me and Gray are not big fans of email. If you have something that is long that you want to say and you really want to say it, feel free to do it. You just get it out there. But if it's something you can say over Twitter or on Reddit or something like that, please do it there, because that is a way that we both prefer to receive feedback, because it's easier to digest, I think.
Yes, we are recording the show fairly well in advance, but when it actually goes live, I will have I will put up a thread on my subreddit where people can discuss this and people can tweet at you or me, and that is a way in which your feedback will probably be much more well received than emailing Mike. Although I have no problem with emailing Mike. That works fine by me, but the Reddit is probably better.
You would say that. I can copy you into all my responses.
I can create a filter that will delete all of those.
I will set up multiple email accounts and use different subject lines. You'll never get away from me. How do people get to the Reddit? Like, what is the way to do that? Like,
of course.
For example, I have no clue, so you need to tell me.
I feel like Reddit is so omnipresent in my life. Who wouldn't know how to get to the Reddit? You go to Reddit, reddit.com/r/CGPGray. And on there, you will see a link that'll say Cortex #1. And you can click that and participate in the comment thread.
Awesome. Gray mentioned Twitter as well. We are both on Twitter. Gray is at CGPGray. And I am iMyke. IMYKE. And also, this is something that I want to do for this show. So we're going to do the regular follow-up and stuff at the start of the show, as you'll hear in many shows. But there is something I would like to do at the end of each show, which will be called Ask Gray. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a method that I do this on a couple of other shows that I host on Relay FM. And what it does is it allows you to ask us, I guess especially Gray, questions. So this can be, it doesn't even necessarily have to be follow-up. It can just be things that you want to know, about. You'll hear us talk a lot about work and stuff like that. You may have seen an app, for example, on my home screens or Gray's home screens that you want to know a little bit more about. So you could tweet and ask us that question. Or maybe you want to understand a little bit more about Activity Monitor and why you would consider it to be so important that you would leave it in your dock. Deal. Or why, or maybe you have just a quick comment about why magnifying the dock is it's just the worst thing you could ever do. You can, if you just tweet with the hashtag AskGray, AskGrey, it will go into a document that we will control, and then we'll be able to bring in the ones that we want to talk about each week, and we can mention them. And it's a really fun way to ask questions and be involved in the show, and it's a great way to get follow-up and feedback and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've never done anything like this, so I'm curious to see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. But we will not be able to do it for the next episode, because I believe we're recording that in advance, so we won't have Ask Gray next time. But we will have it on the third episode, I guess. Is that the way this is going to work?
Yeah, so the first two episodes, we're recording before we release them.
Yes.
We're recording them in advance before the show is even live to the internet. So episode 3, I expect to be chock full of follow-up and questions and feedback about the show. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to that episode. Maybe before then, I will have changed my just the way I do everything in my life. Who knows?
I sure hope so.
As I am pushed into changing things. But I think that's probably about it, Gray.
Okay, yeah. I'm glad this is what you wanted.
I don't know if I wanted something, but I don't know if I got what I was originally intending to get.
All right, I'll see you next week.
Maybe.